I was standing in the hospital corridor when it happened, not far from the maternity ward, close enough to hear everything. A nurse shouted at a woman in labor like she was nothing. No respect, no patience, no mercy. Her voice cut through the hallway, sharp, irritated, careless. The kind of voice that doesn't see a person, only a problem. The woman was bent forward, one hand gripping her stomach, the other pressed against the wall for balance. Sweat soaked her hairline. Her breathing was uneven, desperate. And still, the nurse didn't lower her voice. "What do you expect us to do now?" she snapped. "You should have come earlier. Now you're making this everyone's problem." People slowed their steps. Some looked. Most didn't. That's how hospitals work sometimes. Pain becomes background noise. What the nurse didn't know, what none of us knew yet, was that the woman she was humiliating was married to a man this hospital would soon regret crossing. And by morning, everything changed. If you've ever been treated like you didn't matter, if you've ever needed help and been met with coldness, please stay with me. This isn't just a story. It's a warning. I've spent enough time in hospitals to learn an uncomfortable truth. Not every nurse is kind. Some wear compassion like a uniform, and remove it the moment no one important is watching. Her name was Regina Cole. She worked the maternity ward, and everyone knew her reputation. Sharp tongue, cold eyes. Patients were tasks. Families were annoyances. And suffering was something she no longer respected. If a patient cried, Regina rolled her eyes. If a family asked questions, she snapped back. "Do you think you're the only ones suffering?" she'd say. Other nurses stayed quiet. Doctors looked away. Because Regina had seniority, and cruelty often hides behind experience. If stories like this matter to you, stories that reflect real life, real pain, real consequences, subscribe to KindSoul Corner. We don't tell perfect stories. We tell human ones. That night, an emergency came in. A woman in labor. No family. No friends. Just pain and fear written across her face. Her name was Elena. She clutched her stomach, struggling to breathe, her voice shaking as contractions tore through her body. She kept apologizing, not for screaming, but for existing. I'm sorry, she whispered. Regina didn't rush. She glanced at the chart, then at Elena, and sighed loudly. You should have planned better, Regina said. You don't just show up like this. Elena looked up at her, tears streaking down her face. Please, it hurts, she said softly. Regina didn't respond. She turned away. And that was the moment I knew this night wouldn't end the same for everyone. If you're still here, don't look away now. Because what happened next exposed something deeper than power. It exposed character. What Regina didn't know was that Elena wasn't alone in this world. She just looked like she was. Somewhere across the city, a man was ending a meeting early. Not a businessman. Not a politician. A man whose name wasn't spoken casually. A man who didn't raise his voice, because he didn't need to. Elena's husband. When his phone rang and he saw the missed calls, his expression changed. He didn't panic. He stood up quietly, picked up his coat, and left. Back at the hospital, Elena's condition worsened. Another nurse tried to intervene, gently, respectfully, but Regina shut her down. I've handled labor cases longer than you've been alive, Regina said. Stay in your lane. Minutes later, the room filled with urgency. Doctors rushed in. Monitors beeped louder. Suddenly, Regina wasn't in control anymore. And then he arrived. No shouting. No threats. Just presence. The kind that makes a room go quiet without asking. He didn't introduce himself loudly. He didn't demand attention. He walked straight to Elena's bedside, took her hand, and said one sentence. "I'm here." Everything shifted. A doctor recognized him. Then another. Phones came out, not to record, but to call. Administrators appeared who never came to the maternity ward at night. Regina's posture changed. For the first time, uncertainty crossed her face. She tried to speak, tried to explain. But explanations sound small when they come too late. Elena was rushed into delivery, and she survived. The baby cried. Life won. But the night wasn't over. Before dawn, Regina was called into an office. Not for discussion. Not for warning. For accountability. Statements were taken. Footage reviewed. Voices replayed. The words she thought didn't matter were now everything. By morning, Regina Cole was escorted out of the ward. Not arrested. Not publicly shamed. Just removed. Because sometimes the most painful punishment is being seen clearly for who you've become. Elena held her baby that morning with quiet strength. No revenge. No celebration. Just relief. As her husband stood beside her, he said something that stayed with me. Power doesn't reveal who you are when things are easy. It reveals who you are when someone weaker is in front of you. If this story touched you, if it made you feel something, please like this video. It tells the algorithm that stories like this deserve to be heard. Subscribe to KindSoul Corner if you believe kindness still matters, especially when no one is watching. And before you go, let me ask you one question. When someone is at their weakest, who do you become?